What's up, everybody? It's the Brown Water Banter podcast. I am Jared Seymour.
I'm Joey Cates.
And we're here with Jason today from Yeastie Beastie Homebrew Supply in D'Iberville, Mississippi. Located right there. What's the name of it? Is that Mallet Road right there?
Mallet Road.
Yeah, right there in D'Iberville. I think a lot of people that watch the show will know exactly what we're talking about. Man, when Joey first mentioned that we were going to get you in to come here and do this, when I was super pumped. Who doesn't like beer? And then who the hell doesn't want to make their own beer, right? At some point.
Generally, the people who are a little intimidated by it and don't really know what to ask yet there a little bit, but we're really good at smoothing those guys out.
Yes.
Answering those questions.
Yes.
And YouTube is great for that. There's tons of resources online. If you're even a little bit curious, go hit the internet, and you'll be primed to come in and have a conversation and learn all those different techniques and tricks and all that stuff to be brewing in really no time. It's pretty easy.
Awesome. I mentioned before we started rolling, I'm pretty ignorant on this subject, so I'm going to be able to ask all the good questions because I don't know. You're going to have to explain this to me. Joey, I think you mentioned this a second ago too. Conveniently enough, he and I worked at the Bow, so we were around the brew pub when it actually was brewing beer.
Yeah.
Saw a little bit of that process, but again, I'm not in no way, shape, or form am I going to claim that I know what was really going down.
There is a little bit of brewing terminology you have to learn. There's really not that much, but everyone top down, even homebrewers, we love throwing around the brewing terminology.
Okay, let's hear some.
Pitching your wort.
Okay.
Sparging the grain.
All right.
You've got 3 kettles, right? 3 big tanks. Okay?
Yes.
But they're not called the same thing. You've got a mash tun. You've got a hot liquor tank. You've got a boil kettle. They look the same, but you've got just those little kind of fun little details. Nice. Once you get it down, you get it down. So,
some schooling going on.
Yeah.
Here.
The first time I ever brewed beer, I spent the time with this book. It's Joy of Homebrewing by Charlie Papazian. It's been out since '82.
Nice.
I spent probably an hour searching for what in the world it meant to pitch my yeast. And eventually I'm like, heck with it. I'm just throwing it in there, which is really all you do is you just add it on top. When you're done, you put the lid on it, you walk away, you let the yeast start eating. But the term pitching the yeast was, where is it?
Right.
Where is it?
What does this mean?
Yeah. The notes.
I give up. Just put it in there, and it turns out that's exactly what it is. So,
nice.
That's awesome.
So what is your background outside of this? Like, how did you get into this whole world of brewing beer?
I think a lot of folks at some point in college, me and a buddy, we did 1 or 2 batches, and it was kind of interesting, and it came out all right. And then you get busy doing other things and moving on. It wasn't until years later, actually about 10 years ago, I was in the Navy, and I was moving around, and for some reason it kind of got under my skin to try it again, and I was, as you often do when you're in the military and moving, I'd put all my junk into a storage unit when I moved into town under new orders, and I don't even know why I did. I asked the lady behind the counter at the storage place, hey, are there any homebrew supply stores in town? She goes, yeah, there's one right behind you. Literally, I went across the street, and this is in Norfolk, Virginia. It didn't say homebrew. It was Wine and Cake was the name of the store. Can I drop the name of the store?
Yeah, hell yeah. That's what we're all about.
They happen to have a fairly good homebrewing supply section, and then also in town was another place that was even better. So, okay, I'll get started on this, and just down that road. It's a great hobby for folks that are into cooking, that will build anything, kind of DIY people.
Right.
It's fairly cost effective to get into. Your price per batch for beer for doing 5 gallons, which is kind of the standard, is pretty low. It's basically under $1 per bottle, which is even if you go buy it, it's pretty good.
Right.
And it's a horribly great creative outlet for folks that are interested and willing to depart from any recipe. Okay,
so it's kind of like make your own.
Exactly.
Do whatever you want.
Here's the framework for a certain beer style. Let's call it an IPA. Okay.
Right.
But with the hops you use in IPA, you can go to town. You can be as experimental as you want. I think we carry 120 varieties right now.
Wow.
Gives you an idea of how much there actually is out there to play with. And there's new styles being invented all the time. This style that's called a New England IPA or a hazy IPA, sometimes it's called, is only like 3 years old.
Okay.
People invented this, and they start running with it. And
so there's a science to it, obviously, but you're saying there's some art involved as well,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, there absolutely is.
Just like a chef, right?
We got a couple in front of us right now.
Yeah.
Dig into those.
Try these here.
Okay, yeah. Tell us what we got real quick.
Yeah, hold on a second.
I want to mention a buddy of ours. We talked a second ago. We got to mention Sydney.
He's gonna be mad.
He's going to be super mad about this. The way the schedule fell out, this kind of fell into place real quick, and I didn't have a chance to reach out to him. But he's a good friend of ours, and he loves doing homebrew stuff. He's actually mentioned your store to us before.
Is it really? Very nice.
Yeah. I want to say he may have even been in there before and spoke to you. I'm not 100% sure on that, but he had a lot of good things to say about it. So Sydney, sorry about it, man. Maybe this will be a 2-part series.
We can
you
make
come
it
back.
up to him.
Yeah, we'll make it up to him.
Yeah.
So
We'll do that.
So the first beer I want to pour for you guys today
Yes.
is a
Now, what are these bottles called? Don't y'all have little cool names for your bottles?
It's
as
a
well?
growler.
That's
Yes,
a growler.
It's a growler,
yeah.
yeah. So this is one that actually my father did. We are a family-owned business after all, and my father is the one who usually does the beer class on Saturdays. Free class, like 10 a.m. Come on out, and we will train you how to brew beer.
awesome.
Sure,
Is that every Saturday?
It's every Saturday.
Every
yeah.
Saturday at 10
Unless
o'clock.
something's going on.
Right,
then,
right.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Nice.
Which means we have a lot of beer at the house that we have to drink.
You got a big cup.
And it can be a tad challenging from time to time.
Okay.
Man, okay.
This smells good.
Should we do a half batch this week? Yeah, we probably should because we're running out of kegs. You know, that kind of thing.
Dang.
Yeah.
Now, this
anyway,
is a
so-
brown color-ish.
Yeah. That's
Fits
Brownish.
the theme of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish we could see this because we do a camera.
Yeah.
This is a fake lager.
Okay.
Okay, so 2 different styles, main categories of beer. Lagers, which are fermented cold, around 50 degrees. That's where that yeast likes to be.
Okay.
Gives you a very crisp, very clean, slightly fruity beer. You're familiar with them. Every American pale lager, pale light lager, the buds, everything with a light on the end of it is a lager beer.
Correct.
The other style or the other category would be what are called ales. And
Okay.
ales are fermented warm. Those yeast like to be around 70 degrees. They give you something that's much more robust, much more full flavored. So your IPAs is an ale, your
Right.
stouts are ales, your pale ales, obviously.
Right.
Most of the other beer styles are ales. They're very accessible. They're easy to do. They'll ferment at room temperature on your counter in your house, and they're much more accessible for home brewers. Strangely enough, is that those lagers that we all like that they're so expressed in the marketplace are actually very difficult to do. And
Really?
if your temperature's off, it'll show every imperfection.
And as an outsider looking in,
Sorry,
people.
no one's drank yet.
No one's drank
let's-
yet.
no.
Are we gonna drink? Okay.
Let's try it.
It smell. That's really good.
So
That
that
is
is a very, very close
And
approximation.
you made this.
My father made this one. And he's actually a
Damn.
pretty good brewer. So
Yeah.
this one is almost a spot-on clone of a beer called Pilsner Urquell, which was the original Pilsner that was first
I really
done
like
up
that.
in
Yeah,
I ain't
Pilsen.
bullshitting. I ain't bullshitting.
The Saaz hops, that's the hops that he used on this one,
Yes.
are very prominent in the style. That it's a noble hop variety, so it's very, very old. Pretty good flavor on it, but it's very crisp, very clean. This is the granddaddy, or the beer that it's approximating is the granddaddy of every Pilsner lager that came after it.
Okay.
It's still brewed today. So every American lager that you have is actually a descendant of this. In other words, those guys that were brewing it kind of came over here, and they changed it up, and they made some changes to it based on the ingredients they had at hand.
Okay.
Also, the American consumer has made some
Different,
changes to it.
right.
So what we kind of considered it as being kind of a tasteless beer without much character actually started as something a bit closer to this.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. You made the comment. You said the lager beer, that style of beer, right?
Yep.
Is what all of our light. In other words, the most popular beers you consume
Right.
in America.
Yep.
And it's harder to do because I feel like this new wave culture of everybody getting into these what I call the fancy beers and all the
Yeah.
IPAs and stuff. They shit on the lager and say that it's boring. It tastes like water. It's all It's not
Part
a lot
of-
of flavor to it.
Yeah, part of that I think is because of a very legitimate hostility towards the way beer has been advertised to the American consumer over the last 50 years.
Okay.
The way it's been, put on the shelf as if there was only 2 types, right? There's beer and then there's light beer.
Okay.
And like the reason I brought this to you today is to kind of give you an illustration of how many styles there actually are all over the world, and there's tons.
Yeah.
So what the American consumer was being told about what beer is was way off the mark, especially when you get into homebrewing. 78, Jimmy Carter legalizes homebrewing in the United States.
Okay.
Mississippi didn't get around to legalizing it until what? I had it written down.
Couple years ago.
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah.
No
So it's been 6
way.
years.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dead serious. Which kind of
Always
interesting.
last.
So, well,
man.
it was Alabama the same year,
Right.
so don't feel so bad.
That's not a good.
No, well, I'll get back around to this
Yeah.
in a second, but so we kind of got to rediscover what beer could be and what it is other places, which is fascinating. The world opens up.
It democratized it, right? It allowed people to get creative, right?
It really did.
Yeah.
Right.
We wouldn't have the New England style today if we hadn't legalized brewing before. That was homebrewers that came up with that.
That's right.
Someone got creative, and that those are the guys who do it. Also, the guys that are starting breweries, the guys that are starting brew pubs, they're all homebrewers, and we have some great ones right now in this area that are about to start up some brew pubs in the Gulfport, Biloxi area.
Okay.
So stand by for that, and that's only been legal for 2 years in Mississippi.
Okay, ignorance kicking in here again.
Okay.
So we've got local breweries around here now.
We do.
Okay, they're not considered a brew
Distributors.
pub, right?
They're distributors.
Correct. And this is going to get into some legal stuff. Is that right?
Yep.
They have to brew their beer. They have to sell it to the state.
No, they sell it to
distributors. That's right. It's not that's liquor I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So they sell it to a distributor. That distributor then has to turn right around and sell it back to the stores that wants to carry that beer.
Exactly.
Correct?
Yep.
Now, some of them, I think, or all of them, can sell to the consumer direct in their brewery, but what's the law there? It's
a 10%. So as of right now, they can't sell more than 10% of their total volume
correct
to consumers directly in their brew pub. Okay, so there's a cap on it, and that's actually a pretty low cap.
But that's called a brew pub. So
here's if you're going to distribute, you can sell a certain percentage of what you make to your consumers in your own little store, right?
Okay.
However, if you're not going to distribute, and 100% of what you sell goes to those consumers, that's a brew pub.
Okay.
Okay, that's the difference.
So a brew pub is not distributing at all.
They're
and
not
selling
distributing
directly to
anything.
their consumer, and that just became legal 2 years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they did that, and as of right now, the gold rush is on for all the home brewers that are interested in future folks to try and get into the brew pub game.
Do we have any brew pubs that are already open right now? Because I'm assuming the names that I know, like the Chandeliers and the what's the one over in Bay St. Louis?
You thinking?
It'll come to me in a minute.
You thinking Lazy Magnolia?
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry,
correct.
they're up in they're in Hattiesburg, aren't they?
No. They're right over here on the coast. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get a little confused.
Yep.
Those are largely guys that have been in the distribution model, and they have open brew pubs that you can go drink there as well.
I've been there. That's why.
Yeah.
It had a great time.
Here's an example.
Music, beer. I mean, it was awesome.
Our buddy Dave Macon just opened Puff Bellies Pizza and Brewery.
Yes. I've been seeing their stuff online.
It's our building. It's the same building as us. It's just a little bit further down, and he's brewing his own beer. Okay, as well as selling other stuff as well. We've got our buddy Martin Conrad is about to open up the Craft Advisory Brew Pub on Government Street
in Ocean Springs.
Yeah.
We're my band's playing a show the night they're opening up. I
Are
think
you
it's
really?
April 4th, I believe. Not there, but on Government Street. So we're all like going to flood his place. So.
I might be closing my shop early that night to get out there.
Yeah.
We'll see you there.
Yeah.
I've heard there's another guy that we know of that's opening another place on Porter Avenue in Ocean Springs as well. I don't have any details on that yet.
Okay.
But they are going to start popping up. And here's the really interesting thing about this. If you want to get into the distribution system, you'd have to take millions of dollars to do that. However, if you're the home brewer and you know how to brew beer and you're interested in, hey, there's a little place on the corner that I could probably get started in, you could actually take your own money, a couple grand, build your own brewery from scratch in your garage to get started doing that.
Really?
The bar is so low now.
See, I get aggravated, and I shared an article the other day through the Brownwater page about it was more about the liquor and how liquor law is in the state, right? And I mentioned that a second ago. You have to sell it to the state, or everything comes through the ABC, right?
Yeah.
And I'd love to have one of those guys come in here and explain to us why that's a good system, right? And I know it all goes back to prohibition and how everything was legalized.
It does.
But it chokes out the market. It's not. It's like you're saying. It create the barrier to entry is so much higher than when you have to do stuff like that.
It's hard to find anybody who's not benefiting from the 3-tier system. That's what it's called.
Okay.
It's hard to find anyone who
is benefiting
that will actually say anything good about it.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of a chaotic. It's an interesting idea, right? Okay, we're going to separate these for regulatory purposes. The guys who are making it from the guys who retail it from the guys who are transporting it, maybe. But in practice, it hasn't worked very well. It has kind of become a duopoly everywhere it's gone.
Yeah.
They kind of coalesces down into two different companies everywhere that kind of control the market more or less. And here's the other thing too. How about hobby distilling? Other countries have started to legalize hobby distilling, just around the house for smaller volumes. there's no people making moonshine around here.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I know there is. And probably 98% of it is for personal use.
Right.
There are organizations out there that are trying to make more noise about legalizing hobby distilling. I don't know much about it. We're more beer people. I prefer my beverages around 5%.
Okay.
Not that I don't love a scotch here and there, but
Thank you very much. I was going to ask, do you know what the percentage is on this one here we're drinking?
that's under 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
they both are. That's usually where we keep our beers at.
Okay.
And this is not uncommon because a lot of home brewers, we like to be able to enjoy what we've made. We don't want to get stupid on it.
Right.
It's about that craft. So we people just generally keep it low at 5%.
Right.
It's what's called a session beer.
Right. Okay.
So, anyway, so I'm sorry, where was I?
I was enjoying the shit out of this
Yeah,
right here.
that's
so
a good
it
beer.
doesn't
Mine's
really matter.
going, so y'all are
Okay.
Y'all
Yeah,
are
I'm
babysitting.
babysitting. I'm talking over here. But,
All right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'll take.
Yeah,
more.
he did a really good job on
he
that.
really did a
That
good
is.
job. I would like to
Now,
ask.
he did that at your shop, or he has his brewing. He has it set up at his house.
This is one of the days when we did a class.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, and when I called it a fake lager initially.
Yes.
It's fake because we used a yeast on it that's very clean, but it's considered an ale
Damn good.
yeast. So even though it ferments warm, in fact, this one ferments really hot, and I'll get to that a bit later.
Yeah.
It'll produce a beer that's very, very similar to a lager without the aging time, without having to have the temperature control on it. So there are ways of cheating some of those rules a little
Okay.
bit. There's just so many yeasts that are out there, and there's so much to work with these days. This one actually comes from Norway. It's a Norwegian yeast strain called a Kveik. It's
Okay.
been
Sounds
around there
Norwegian.
forever.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. Remember I said that ale yeast like to be around 72 degrees?
Yeah.
If you go higher than that, up to 74, 75, most ale yeast will start producing what are called esters that aren't favorable. The little sour apple, banana esters that don't taste good in the beer. But this Kveik yeast has the curious ability to get up to 100 degrees without off flavors. It'll
Wow.
ferment very
That
fast.
gives you a big window,
So
right?
you can do it in
It
your
does.
garage.
Exactly, which is why down here when it's hot and blazing in the summer,
we
we could
could
be
break-
making that in our garage.
Nice.
It's remarkable.
We could break 100 in our garage down here in South Mississippi. in
maybe
June
not.
and August,
Yeah,
dude.
maybe not the peak of summer.
You
But
better
darn
get me
close
a
to it.
yeast in here that's good up to like 150. All right, and then we'll start talking. Yeah.
Not August, but every
Yeah.
other month we could.
They're very fast. This would probably ferment it in 3 days,
Okay.
and it was done.
Can we
So-
do it like this? Let's talk then. What? Because I'm assuming a lot of people listening to this don't brew their own beer.
Yep.
Like, let's break it down to elementary school.
Okay.
And what are?
Okay,
Can
four ingredients.
There
right?
we go. That's
four.
what
Only 4.
Okay.
You've got your malted barley, you've got your hops, you've got your yeast, and you got your water. That's it. Okay. Elementary beer. That's it. You don't need anything else. Malted barley. Everyone knows. You guys know what malted barley is, or what malting entails?
I don't think so.
Let
Okay.
us know.
You just take the grain. You take your regular grain that comes out of the field.
Right.
You're going to get it in a nice temperature-controlled environment. Usually it's a big warehouse type deal. They get it wet. They get it warm. They let it germinate for a few days.
Okay.
It develops a little root on it. After a few days, they halt the process. They heat it up. They kiln it to kind of give it a light roasting, and that little root will fall off, right? You then now have malted barley, okay?
Okay.
What that means is that on the inside of that little kernel, it's developed. I see, now I'm losing blank because I'm.
No, we're
you know,
enjoying the
it's
beer,
fine.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hit you with all this science all out the gate. Yeah.
It's become what's called a modified malt. So it's developed enzymes in it that will allow the conversion of starches to sugars.
Correct.
Right, because all
Because
we
this
got
is all a
before
big
is sugar.
chemistry
Yeah, exactly.
experiment
Project.
we're doing.
So
here.
the next step is to take that grain and you're going to crack it through a mill to make it so the water can get on the inside of it, and you're going to get it into a container of water at about 150 degrees and keep it there for about an hour. What's happening is those little molecular engines are going to work and they're converting starches to sugars.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're going to feed the yeast. Okay,
All right.
so after that's done, you remove the grain, which is now spent grain, from the liquid. Okay, and what you have then is wort, which is basically young unfermented beer. If you're going to make a distilled beverage like whiskey, okay, that's what they do. They do that mashing process, and then they ferment what's left over. Okay? In the case of beer making, what we do is we get it to boil, and then we start adding hops to it.
All right. So it starts out, both those processes start out the same.
They do. Exactly. Then they
So
like
have
to
we
diverge.
pitched the wort yet?
No, we have not. we haven't pitched anything yet.
Okay.
We're still standing there holding the ball.
yeah.
That's right. So we have our big kettle of wort, and we're going to get it to boil, and we're starting adding hops to it. Okay?
Sounds like some Lord of the Rings
And-
shit.
Yeah, it does.
What happens when we add hops is that there's basically 2 compounds in those hops that we're after. We have some alpha acids, which is basically a fancy term for a resin of sorts, and that's where our bitterness comes from.
Okay.
We put that in because we have to have that boiling in order for those alpha acids to become bitter, to add bitterness to the beer. That's what counteracts the sweetness of the malt. So we have that nice balance.
Right.
Also, there are volatile oils that come along with the hops as well, and they provide flavor and aroma to our beer. Okay, we got a trade-off, right? The longer they're in boiling, we get the bitterness, but we lose the flavor and aroma. Okay. They evaporate out.
Right.
So we actually have usually 2 or 3 additions of hops during that hour-long boil. Okay. Bittering hop goes in first. Those are in the whole time. Towards the end, at some point, depending on the recipe, we're going to throw more hops in there. And we do that so we can retain flavor and aroma of those hops in that finished product.
Okay.
So when the other ones are boiling off, we're throwing more in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the end of that hour, you're going to turn off the flame. You're going to cool the whole thing down. Usually an ice bath is what most beginners start with because you've got a kettle on your stove, about a 5-gallon kettle. You're going to get an ice bath for about 45 minutes to cool down. You want to get under 80 degrees.
There's some parallels here with boiling crawfish, I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Are there really? Okay.
Kind of doing the same pot.
A little bit.
You're definitely going to have some beer while you're
It's not an hour.
crawfish.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also another trick.
Once you get it cold, you put it in your fermenter. You pitch your yeast on top of it.
Oh, you got there.
You put your airlock on it, which is basically a little fancy little gizmo with a little water in it or some sanitizer, and that allows the CO2 to escape without other bugs or bacteria getting in.
Okay.
And then you just leave it alone because you don't make beer. We don't make beer. We make wort. The yeast makes the beer, right? They do the
Love
work
you,
for
yeast.
us.
Thank you, man.
They just go to
I
town.
know, right?
Thank you.
That's basically you're gonna let it go till it's done fermenting. All the yeast is gonna fall out to the bottom, as well as whatever hops were remaining in there. Then you siphon off to another container, and you can either put it in a keg or bottle it. And
Who the hell
you're
came
ready
up
to
with
go.
all that? You know what I mean? That's what I'm wondering.
You know,
Who started that process?
That champion of history that just hasn't been identified yet.
I don't know, but he needed a beer awful bad by the time he had it done.
He was probably married.
What else can I do to stay out of this house? Let's pitch some yeast.
I'm kidding, kind of.
You guys want to try the second one?
Yes, let's do
Yes.
it.
Okay.
So all this stuff that you're talking about, you carry all these products in your shop,
yeah.
everything you need. So, I mean, could the normal person with just like a gumbo pot start his own,
Oh yeah,
his or her own?
As a matter of fact, the kettle that I started with did double duty between gumbo and beer.
Really?
Because, like I said, I like to cook too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gumbo beer.
Brew.
I mean,
Well,
come
it's
on
a
now.
stainless steel kettle, so I'm sure that there wasn't
Yeah,
any
but a marketing, as a
cross-contamination.
marketing ploy is what I'm getting at. Gumbo beer. If you
this
saw that
one,
around
this
here,
one looks a little darker.
Yeah, this is
Oh,
a
yeah.
this is a chocolate peanut butter porter.
Wow.
And this one is
Sounds
mine.
good.
And we did this one last for a reason.
I'm sitting here thinking, and I gotta be honest. I think I've been on record on the podcast, definitely in life, but on record on the podcast, I believe already. I'm not a huge IPA fan. It's not.
Yeah.
my
I'm not
thing.
either. I'm not either.
Good.
As far as a standard IPA
Sydney
goes.
is.
However,
Yeah, my buddy
these,
Sydney loves it.
These New Englands are just blowing me away right
all
now.
the ones
It's
that
a
I-
totally different beer.
All the ones that I've drank to me taste like grapefruit juice, and I may be the only one who
Okay.
thinks that, and that's just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
However, a sour IPA by Chandelier Brewing Company, they have, I forget the name off the top of my head.
Okay.
Is amazing.
Okay.
And I love it. It's awesome.
Props to them.
Yes.
That brewmaster they have out there is incredible.
Okay. It's awesome.
They are doing it the right way. I think that but they're constantly getting something new out in front of the consumer, and
All
that's
right.
what you got to do.
Yeah.
And it's quality, and I love their sour series as well.
I've never really had a sour beer until
Yep.
probably a year and a half, year ago.
Yep.
And I would have not thought I would have liked that.
I
And
pass on a lot of IPAs.
Well, no,
It's
no,
a
well,
it's
no,
a balanced sourness, right? They're going to add some fruit or something else to. It's not just sour
I
beer.
think I like them the more sour it is.
Really?
Yeah, I'm weird,
Nice.
dude. I don't know.
Okay.
But is
No accounting
can you
for
help me
taste.
out with this? Is you're right? Is a sour an IPA automatically, or is
No.
that okay? So
No.
you could be a sour anything.
Yeah, in fact, I've never heard of a sour IPA, so that's a little innovation.
Maybe
there.
I've said that wrong.
that's
They
good
may be in the
too.
comments section down here in a minute. Like, no, you got that wrong.
Smell
asshole.
it first.
Could be.
No, you're right. Their beer is a sour beer, and I had a sour IPA in Nashville.
Okay.
That is correct. I
Okay.
said that wrong. I'm
Okay.
glad you corrected me on that. Yep.
So with
Wow.
even within the IPAs, right? IPAs were meant to be very, very
good, too.
bitter.
Damn, that's good. Tell me what this is again. It's a
It's chocolate peanut butter porter. So
Damn.
this came out here. One of the books I brought. Okay, this is my copy. Clone Brews. Okay, this is an older book now, and it's got in here clone recipes. It just would sound like for tons of commercial beers, right?
Okay.
So Anchor Steam, there's a good example. In this book, there's a little bit on the beer itself. There's 3 different ways to make it.
Okay.
We'll get into that later. Extract, beginner, basically the beginner stuff. Down here's the all grain, which is kind of the advanced brewing. And there's something in the middle that's not real popular because once you start going all grain with your brewing, that's kind of where you stay at. But this beer that we just tried is I would call it, I guess it's a clone of Terrapin's Liquid Bliss. But a buddy of mine said, this is just awesome. You have to make one of these.
Okay.
Well, Terrapin doesn't make the beer anymore, and they didn't really have it on the market long enough for lots of people to come up with clone recipes. So all I did was I came up with a porter recipe and added a little chocolate and a little peanut butter extract to it, and that's what I got. Dead simple,
good.
really easy. But
really
it was
good.
actually really close to. I can't get the beer now to sample them side by side. It kind of kills me. But that one did come out pretty good.
How do you get the chocolate flavor in there?
It's an extract.
Dude,
Okay.
it
Cab on the
smells,
shelf. It's
Okay.
it's a natural extract.
smells like a coffee almost.
I think
It-
I
it
added
kinda-
Yeah.
2 ounces of peanut butter extract and 3 ounces of chocolate, if I'm not mistaken. Here's the other thing about homebrewers, especially if you come out. We got homebrew clubs around this area.
I was wanting to get to that.
You will never find a more giving bunch of people, friendly, outgoing.
That want to share all their
They
knowledge to
will.
everybody.
Not
Yeah.
only will they tell you what's in their recipe, they'll tell you why it's there. They'll tell you what else they've used in the past. They will help you out like nobody's business.
So nobody's that high horse saying, "I'm not going to give you my
Right, right,
recipe."
No, there really isn't.
Yeah.
And if someone did that, it would just be considered a challenge for someone else to
destroy.
To find it and beat it.
to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I went the other way.
no, really nice. The group that we have there on here that's we've been seeing the most of is the Biloxi Order of Brewers.
I hadn't heard of that. Okay.
Great group of people. We're the boobs. Biloxi Order of Brewers.
like it.
Find
I like
us
it
on
already.
Like
Facebook.
that.
Yeah. See, you can't forget it now.
Right,
Biloxi
yeah.
Order of Brewers. They're on Facebook. It is a completely open, informal group of folks. We meet probably every month or two, usually at someone's house or at the store, or this kind of thing. And it's just bring out some beer you made, or even if you didn't, and ask some questions and meet some folks. It's a great time.
Y'all kind of like you say, you bring out stuff that you
Just
made.
sample
Everybody
it out.
samples it and says,
Oh, yeah.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice,
that's cool.
nice.
Yeah.
Do y'all do any kind of local competition brewery stuff, or is it not a competition kind of thing? with
It's
people?
not a competition, not
Okay.
even remotely.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
there
that.
are competitions out there.
Right.
Okay, if you do get into it and you want to.
Any locally or not so much.
No, not
Okay.
any locally that I know of yet. But
Okay.
that's aside, because there's the ones that are going on all over the country. You can send your beer to them remotely and be entered that way. In fact, that's how most people do the competition. Is they take, depending on what the competition wants, the 2 beer bottles with silver caps, and you send them in through the mail, and then they get judged in the competition.
Wow.
That's actually what this book in front of you. This is actually the Beer Judge Certification Program guidelines.
Wow, that's
That there are actually beer judges, and you have to get certified
that,
to do
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's
and,
pretty cool.
and
Pretty legit.
usually they're
it's
pretty
kinda
good. So if you are a home brewer and you want to have your product judged by a professional or some certified professional, there's tons of places around the country all the time doing competitions you can send one off to and get feedback
That's
on
awesome.
that is really cool.
It has blown my mind, the
Yeah.
science we have learned already. I thought you just poured some beer out of a bottle somewhere. But
No,
we're really pumping it out.
it. Question for you guys, because you were saying before the show that you had worked down here at the casino when
yeah.
they did
Brew
it.
Club,
Any idea why they didn't start that back up?
That's a great question. I don't know if it was the cost of the equipment because
I know a lot of it got destroyed in Katrina.
Oh, Did it really? 100% of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, I
All
didn't
of it
know
got.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was all. It's copper, right? All the
Theirs
stills-
were. Theirs
probably were.
Yeah.
They had 3 big tanks. They were encased in glass so that everyone could see it. It was all destroyed through
The
Katrina.
brewmaster would just come out there while
Yeah,
everybody's eating,
I don't
and
know
he'd
the
be just
decision behind
piling
that.
stuff in
Showmanship.
there.
But
Yeah.
like what you're saying, it's there's a culture of people that are really into this, and even as a marketing ploy for them back then. I mean, people used to always talk about the Biloxi Blonde and going in there
Biloxi Blonde was
trying the
delicious.
sampler of beers
Really?
from super light, which I think the blonde might have been the
Blonde
lightest,
was the lightest.
all the way
Okay.
up to a stout
God,
and a
I knew the name of the stout too, and I had it in my head. I can't remember what it was called.
I don't either, but that's kind of how we got our exposure to a couple
the
of different
first
beers.
brew I ever saw, because I
Right.
don't even think it wasn't legal. It obviously wasn't legal then to do that.
That's
to
my
homebrew
question.
it.
No, yeah, it was, but they were on the water. I don't know if that had something to do with it or
Maybe
not.
so.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
And
And they were selling direct to the consumer there.
Right.
Now they weren't distributing anything at all. You couldn't get it in the store.
Well, it's a casino. They have lawyers. I'm sure they knew exactly what was going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, it wasn't
little
illegal.
red,
Yeah,
little
yeah.
red tape cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that do y'all have any beer at your store to purchase? So if I walked in there,
not ours, we can't sell ours.
Right.
We do have growlers that we can fill. Right now we've got some stuff on tap from Southern Pro, from Parrish, which is pretty good stuff too, and Chandelier.
Oh, okay.
Really?
So
okay.
we do growler fills as well.
Nice.
But we are kind of in the process of trying to get our licensing done so we can be a brew pub as well, even on a smaller scale. We don't want to forget about the homebrew stuff. That's our bread and butter. We actually got into. It probably doesn't mean anything. We actually got nominated for Homebrew Store of the Year by one of our customers this year.
Yeah.
It's first year. We're 3.5 years in. I'm kind of in the middle of doing a bunch of remodel at the store anyway. So we'll see what comes out of it. But to be nominated by someone that it's like, and I know the reason why is because we spend so much time, especially with beginners that coming in, explaining, giving them the tour, letting them see and put hands on these ingredients, and it demystifies it.
That's awesome.
Because I don't want people thinking, oh man, all grain, it's too much for me. It's not.
Right.
It's easy.
I'm about 80% sure it was Sydney, but I can't remember. But I know I got feedback from your store that you or your dad or your staff or whatever was extremely friendly and more than willing to what you just said, to walk somebody from completely doesn't know anything to like, how long do you want to stay here and talk? You know, is what I was told.
Absolutely.
I can attest to that.
And you know, here's a place that is just gotten this, and people don't really know what it is. You better build your business around explaining
Customer
it.
service,
Right.
yeah, and education.
And that's what we've done,
right?
And that's really what we've done, and we made it interesting and fun for those folks to get into it.
So you're Google. You're the Google of the brewing world.
Kind of am, at least
Well, better
here.
than Google because you can give personal experience
And
and actually direct answers.
Even with 9-10 years of brewing experience, I'm still a novice in many ways.
Okay.
Those guys that are write those books in '82. And that Charlie's not the only one. They are just mad gurus in terms of knowledge, and it's the kind of thing where you get into it as much as you want to when you're ready to do it.
Yeah.
You peel that next layer of that onion when you're ready to do it. When you're, man, I'm really enjoying this. This week I'm just enjoying the heck out of it, and nothing's going to change. Next week I'm really curious about this new yeast and how it works, and you find a podcast and you're peeling back that layer of onion and you're like, there's something else I didn't know.
The rabbit hole.
Exactly.
I love it.
So horribly good. And here's the thing too, like I said, I was mentioned the two ways of brewing the extract, which was the beginners use,
Okay.
and the all grain, which is kind of, I characterize as the advanced kind of stuff. As you get kind of go more advanced towards the all grain, you make better beer. You make it cheaper per batch, and you get more control over what you're making. And that's fascinating to see, the advanced stuff as actually cheaper. You can be making a batch of beer for $20-$25 easy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What's a batch? Did we already say that?
5 gallons is kind of standard.
That's a lot of beer.
You can do whatever you want. I'll scale it.
Just give me a straw.
We have software we can scale it down to a gallon if you want, or as big or small as you want. But it's so accessible to do, even on a budget, if you just take the time to give it a shot.
Can you walk us through when I walk in your store, what am I going to see? What all is there? Obviously, it's everything, but can you explain it? Like you've got your
fermenters, right? All the equipment you need is in there. We do have some kettles around, some smaller kettles that a lot of beginners will use, but we find that a lot of folks don't need them because they're doing gumbos, they're doing crawfish boils.
Pots.
They've already got the kettle they need. It's sitting in the garage. They don't even know it. The equipment's not too expensive. It's about $100 to get started with all the equipment that you need.
Everything?
Like I said, except for the kettle, which most people have. Yeah, that's everything. That's
Okay.
2 fermenters, a bottling bucket.
Yeah.
That's all the siphoning
Dude,
equipment.
that's a low barrier to entry right there.
It is.
Yeah.
As far as the ingredients go, a beginner kit will range anywhere between, say, $30 to $50, depending on what you want to do.
So we're about $150 right now if you got a pot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you do beers that are big beers, either higher in alcohol or hugely bitter with lots of hops, like big IPAs, it's going to go a little higher than $50 per batch.
Because your ingredients.
It's your ingredients, just more ingredients.
How does that work? How does the alcohol? How do you do the alcohol? How do you get higher alcohol content?
More sugar.
The more sugar.
In this case,
it's
more
conversion.
more barley, more grain.
Okay.
So that's the way that works. Now to go.
I'm gonna grab this again if that's okay.
Yeah, that's good.
You guys had it. I'm glad you like
Don't drink
that
it all, bro.
Yeah, I actually like both of them.
I like the dark better, and that's weird because I usually drink light.
And I would
beer.
tell you if I didn't like it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we've got 120 varieties of hops right now. About that, we've got lots of liquid and dry yeast.
Here's a dumb question.
Yeah.
How is it packaged, the hops, in your store?
Oh, that's a good question. It's in a vacuum sealed nitrogen
Fancy.
Flushed bag. Usually they come in 1 ounce or 2 ounce
like a coffee
bags.
bag,
1 or
like a
2
coffee
ounce bags. Okay.
Kind of like that. It's
I didn't know
4x4
quantity, volume wise, how much we were talking.
Generally speaking, you talk an ounce at a time or 2 ounces at a time of the hops. We do have pound bags as well for some folks who are doing IPAs. They got to buy it by the pound.
Yeah,
because it's the only way it's doable to do that. And they won't use the whole pound per batch, of course. But and those are usually pelletized. Here's the thing too. Of course, the hop is a cone-shaped flower, right?
Yep.
And what they do is we do get them, and sometimes that are whole hop. But these days, most people use pellets, where they basically take all these hops, they put them through a machine that turns them into a little green. Looks like a rabbit pellet type thing.
Is that they're viewed as?
No, they're very good actually.
Okay,
they're
it's
great
not like, hey man, I'll do pellets. Like I only mess with the real stuff, right? No, there's not that.
They store really well. They're easy to measure out. They're exactly the same in terms of what they do in the beer. You don't lose any quality to them. It allows us to carry a lot more variety. Keeps the cost down as well.
Just easier to handle all around.
It's a lot easier to handle.
When I think of hops, I think of like the Samuel Adams commercials. Don't they always like sling them out on?
Or he's like
the
he's got two hands down.
Yeah.
Smelling them.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Actually, a fun experiment to do when you're brewing is because I'm always drinking a beer, of course. When you're doing your malt on the cooktop, drink that beer while you're doing it, right? And then when you crack open that little bag of hops, just
smell it,
give it a good smell, and then drink your beer again, and you're gonna all of a sudden those hop characteristics in the beer you're drinking are gonna start
stand
popping out. Yeah,
okay,
that's awesome.
When I think of a hoppy beer, and correct me, I mean, I guess everything's a little bit subjective, right? But one of the ones that to me, when you open up, and it's not necessarily my favorite beer, I really like it, but a Heineken, it seems like super potent with the hop smell to me. Now,
are you drinking it out of the bottle or you pour it in a glass?
No, out of the bottle. As soon as I open the bottle, I can smell it. Like
if you
pour
poured
more distinct than any other beer. Bud Light, obviously, because it's probably not as hoppy, right? Coors Light, all the other beers don't do that.
You're also talking two different styles of beer.
Correct. But like the Heineken style to me is when you open it, it's like I can smell that beer.
Try pouring it in a glass.
And I like it. I like the way it is. But you're saying it'll decrease that?
No, it'll increase it. When we drink a beer out of a glass, not just you get to appreciate the color and the clarity, head retention, and that hop aroma. You usually get a much better sense of what that's like out of a glass than you do
more
out of
air
a
hits
bottle.
it, just like with
it's like
bourbon.
a wine,
just like bourbon or
exactly.
wine.
Exactly.
Wine.
So for home brewers, most part, we don't drink out of the bottle. We we pour it in a glass.
Really?
And we've earned it. I mean, that the color, the clarity, you earned it. You built it. You appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
finished product.
Exactly. So
that's awesome.
That is cool. That is cool. So do we walk through the store in our heads all the way through? You said
a little bit.
You got
like I said, we've got all the equipment that you need in terms of fermenters and the other equipment. We've got kits made up that are ready to go. Just want to grab one off the shelf. If you just come in with an idea, hey, I like this beer, X beer. We'll see if we can find a clone recipe for it, and we can build you a kit for that. We do that a lot. If you like a style, we can look through and find several options as far as a certain style. If you just come in off the street, hey, I like IPAs. Okay, well, we'll put something together. Yeah. Like I said, we have I think, I don't even know how many base grains I've got right now. 5 main base grains that you use for brewing beer. You're going to have a pale ale malt. You're going to have Brewers 2-row. You're going to have a Vienna malt. You're going to have, I'm forgetting a couple of them, Pilsner. And you're going to have, usually you got a couple different German malts as well. And those form the majority of your brewing grain, like up to 90% of it, right? The rest of it, the stuff that gives you interesting flavor and color and sweetness and this kind of stuff, is what are called specialty grains. And we just got a full selection of those as well. So there's nothing that we don't have in terms of ingredient-wise.
So if you're looking to brew a style, you can cover it.
Oh, yeah.
Anything you want.
Yeah, Belgians.
What's your favorite personally?
Favorite beer style?
Yeah, is that like asking somebody that's in the music their favorite style or band or something?
Everyone that I brew with, everyone I talk to knows exactly what the answer to that is.
Okay, they're screaming at the camera or at the
they
screen
are.
right now.
They know what I'm about to say.
Okay.
It's a Vienna lager. Okay.
I don't know that I've ever had that.
Have you ever had a Negro Modelo?
Yes. There you go. Yeah.
Dos Equis Amber, I believe it is.
Yes.
Victoria.
I love Modelo though.
What do those 3 beers all have in common?
No clue. They're all kind of a darkish color, right?
Well, they're all from Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay.
That too.
Why is a Vienna lager
From Mexico.
from Mexico?
No clue.
Remember I said about the beer styles? Some actually have a pretty interesting history, and this one is that back when Napoleon III decided to conquer Mexico, he sent General Maximilian to go and conquer Mexico, and he was from Austria, right?
Okay.
So behind this invasion of Mexico comes a whole bunch of German and Austrian immigration, okay? And these guys brought with them this style of beer called the Vienna style lager. And then they were coming over about the same time that the Pilsners and the light lagers were taking over and in Europe, and the Vienna lagers were being kind of pushed out of production. So it kind of found a home in Mexico, strangely enough.
Wow.
And they're
You need
fantastic
to start a
beers.
podcast about all this shit.
Yeah.
I may run out. I'm afraid I'd run out in like 2 episodes.
No. there's no
It'd be
way.
just like 8 hours long, 2 8-hour-long podcasts.
That'd be fun.
Been miniseries, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
It's fun too.
So the fun history on that, but they're fantastic. They are malty and they're sweet, and they go really well with Mexican food for one thing, but there's other stuff. But 20 years ago, they were considered a dying beer style. Now they're coming back. Now we got more places in the U.S. that are actually making versions of them.
Right.
But they are just a fantastic beer style, and a little bit out there, kind of hard to find. So when you find one, I always jump on it. I gotta give it a shot. So that's the answer to the question. That's my favorite beer style. But this one that my father did is just fantastic.
It is.
How would a
Big lager.
peon like us know that Dos Equis Amber would be a Vienna lager?
Some of them
Google.
are marked fairly well on the bottle. I
Okay.
think Negra Modelo is says on their Vienna style lager. This is something that I think a lot of people. If there's one thing I could encourage people to do more is that when they're out drinking a beer, ask what the style of it is. Find out some background.
Or try some stuff you've never had before,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. And keep in mind too that we talked about the breweries in the state and as getting more and more brew pubs going.
Okay.
Keep in mind too that of the 10 highest or best-selling beers in Mississippi, only one craft breaks the top 10. Okay, it's Yingling. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything else is a American pale lager of some sort that's not even brewed in the state.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
I think the closest breweries we have to us from the two big ones are in Georgia, but nothing's here in the state, and
Right.
yet we have this
all these small
And
breweries.
Yingling just
have-
got here as well. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
has
did.
been here. Yeah.
we have as local people that are passionate about it, and they're trying to get a foothold, and they're interested in doing this.
And I think they've been struggling too, in the sense of what we mentioned earlier with the distributors and all that stuff, and fighting the laws about everything.
They're not just fighting the laws; they're fighting the fact that 9 of those top 10 beers they're all the same style of beer, right? We need to just get folks to try something new.
So, in other words, you're
I
saying
gotcha.
change people's palates.
Exactly.
around it.
Branch
And
out.
change their expectations or
Right.
challenge their expectations and
Right.
trying to get them to try something new. And go and hit up those local places that are working so hard to try and put something new in front of them.
We need like
And,
a place with like Viking cups and some big Viking hats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like you get
Drink
a
out of a
sword.
horn.
Yeah, yeah, and you eat like a chicken bone.
Yeah. That would be cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that could sell.
This,
sell
this,
big.
I
this-
think someone's getting a business
Steal that?
plan for
Yeah,
that
yeah,
put together
yeah.
right now.
Come talk to us, man. Maybe we can help out. I don't know.
this is amazing. This chocolate.
Which one you like the best? The chocolate?
Yeah,
I like them both
that's
a lot.
weird for me
honestly.
to drink a dark beer.
Yeah, yeah, these
But
are
that's
really good.
Well, I understand. It's hot down here, right? You want something refreshing.
Right.
So, totally understand it. But get out of the comfort zone a little bit. Try something new. Go to the place where you can talk to the brewmaster, the guy who made it.
Yeah.
There's going to be more of them in the future. We get people out to enjoy it. And we
Yeah.
will have a beer industry down here
Yep.
that no one
Yeah.
could believe.
And these breweries down here have that. I know we mentioned Lazy Magnolia. They do. Is it First Fridays? I think they do a thing where you can go out there and hang out.
Pretty sure they do.
Yeah, yeah. I've been to one of them, and it was a great time. They had live music.
Okay.
You could order off their menu. It was amazing. I'm sure Chandelier Brewing does the same thing. Those are the two
Yeah.
that stick out in my mind right off the top. I hate to not mention other ones.
Can I put a plug?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Plug it
what-
away.
Yeah,
we're
that's what we're
going
here
to
for.
be out this next weekend. This is March 7th, assuming that, I don't know when the podcast is going out. The Gulf Coast Beer and Bacon Festival.
Okay.
That sounds delicious.
And
Yeah.
we're going to be out there. We're going to have some beer to sample. We're also going to be doing a live demo, so I'll be brewing on site,
Nice.
and it'll smell great.
That's
Yeah.
is that next Saturday?
That's next Saturday.
Yes.
It's going to be at the Hollywood Warehouse, 3420 Giles Road in Gulfport.
Okay.
I'm sure you can find the website on that.
Yeah.
Gulf Coast Beer and Bacon Festival, and there's going to be other folks out there. I know Dave from Puff Belly's going to be out there. I know that our buddy from the Craft Advisory
Okay.
is going to be out there as
Okay.
well. So great place to come out and sample some of these local beers and watch us brew some brewing. It should be a pretty good time.
And eat some bacon.
And bacon's gonna be all. I've already sampled Puff Belly's entrant. It's gonna be a, how do you put it? It's a bacon infused maple porter.
You just said a bunch of words all in a row that I'm in. I'm
It's
in on all those words.
It's a dark beer that
he's
got. He's got some bacon infused maple flavor type stuff in the beer. It's really good.
You're just mixing a bunch of stuff together.
It sounds like it doesn't.
No. I mean that I love. You know what I mean? So it's just like bacon infused steak, fish and money type of thing. So one other thing I want to ask. This to me sounds like a Brewers Festival. Is that the right way to call that? Like highlighting people that like to brew beer. Is that fair assessment?
Partially. There's going to be a lot of restaurant food stuff there as
well.
So
is there anything that either y'all do or that occurs here locally that is just a Brewers Festival or a highlight of that that's on, am I making sense with that?
Yeah, there are some around. Last year we did actually we did several last year with some different events where we actually had homebrewers come out. It's such giving people. These are folks that will come out to a festival and they will just sample 5 gallons of something they made, sometimes a lot of it, just so people who show up to the event can try some homebrew.
Wow. Right.
And that's money out of their own pocket. And last year we did the Nola's, was it Nola on Tap, over at the fairgrounds, and we had 9 homebrewers came out, and I think we had 12 beers on tap. And I think we only had like a little bit left.
Where
at the
was
end.
this at?
This was in New Orleans.
Okay.
And there'll be more events like that around, but we don't. As
what I'm saying is we need one locally. We need a local event like that. Let's talk about it. Let's put one on. Let's do something. Let's get some people.
I'm game. Let's do it.
Let's set a date like what they got here and set a challenge up. Bring people out and show off what they can do. I think that'd be fun.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, if we get to do some of this and sample stuff like this, man, that'd be awesome.
That's amazing.
If we can get away with it, absolutely do it.
Well, the legality of it, I guess we'll have to figure that out.
I'm sure we can handle a beer festival around here.
Yeah.
Even sampling stuff out and at least start small, and it would be a lot of fun to do.
The people around here, I'm gonna tell you what they like. They like gumbo, crawfish, beads, parades, and beer.
Yeah.
The outdoors. I mean, it's pretty easy to categorize.
This is a department. Usually, guys is talking fishing and outdoors, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It all comes full circle.
It's all the same thing, man. It's just different
I spend so much
of the
time
same
in my
thing.
store. I have not even been able to get out fishing in like 2 years.
We know a bunch of guys.
We can do another episode right now about that, about all the stuff that we would love to do that we can't do. But, But yeah, so look, I'm super glad you stopped by today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us.
Where can people find you online? Yeah, it was.
YeastieBeastie.com.
Okay.
YeastieBeastie.
I'm glad you spelled that because I would have butchered it.
I'm not spelling it.
What about on Facebook? I know y'all are on Facebook.
We are
I've
on
seen you there.
Facebook. But most of it, just come by the store.
Yeah, absolutely.
And man, we will answer your questions.
People want to flirt with you first through the phone. That's what they want to do. They want to see you there first, right, and check you out. So you're on Facebook. Go there and find them there. Do y'all have anything on YouTube? Do you have any brew videos on YouTube?
I got a couple. Generally, what I've been doing is when I get new products in, I'll do a product photo or a video, something like that, and I'll put that up there.
Okay.
If I'm gonna plug anyone, plug the Biloxi Order Brewers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys,
So go to that, hey, that's a Facebook page as well?
That's a Facebook page as well.
Okay.
One of our buddies, Eric Landrum, one of our customers, he came in a couple years ago completely green, and now he's got a fantastic brewing channel. He's a local guy, lives up in Saucher. Eric's Home Brewing has done a great job putting videos out for folks to go hit the boob page, go hit Eric's Home Brewing, go by and see David.
Don't Google that though.
Yeah, don't Google the page. You might get some different results. You weren't expecting.
But there's just so much information out there. If you're interested, come see us. Go hit up one of these pages. Go look at the American Home Brewers Association webpage. Great videos on there as well. It's more accessible now than it was 10 years ago, and 2 years from now it'll be an order of magnitude even closer.
That's absolutely awesome. And look, right here in D'Iberville, man, I'm telling y'all, it's right over here on Mallet Road in D'Iberville, across the street from the bowling alley, right there by the Walmart. You're probably going to Walmart anyway for something, so go check them out. Send them a message online or something. Check them out there. Joey, where
can you find these? Are these open to the public? This right here. Like if we wanted to try these, is that open to the public now?
No, it's not.
Okay, so we're VIPs.
We got to fix that.
Well, the answer is, those brew clubs, those meetings of homebrewers we get together. That's where all this stuff gets shared.
Okay. But you said you're trying to work on becoming a brew
we
club,
are,
right?
In fact, we kind of wanted to have it open by now. It just hasn't happened
Stuff
yet.
takes time. Keep
But,
us up to date
it will.
if you would, please. Here on the
Absolutely.
podcast. And
Absolutely.
let's not make this a one-off. Let's do this again. I feel like we could talk about a lot
I
more
can
stuff.
bring more of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll just sit here and we'll get a bunch of people in here. And we'll do some taste testing and some sampling and see
That'd
what
be
people
cool.
think.
It's easy. You can do it.
Look, man, thank you so much
That's awesome,
for stopping by.
Guys, thanks very much for having me.
Dude,
Yeah, no
this
problem.
was a really good time. We tested 2, and I'm giving thumbs up on both
I'm
of
gonna
them.
I'm gonna take this.
Yeah, he's taking that with him. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening on the podcast. And until the next one, we'll see you then.